everyone, welcome back. Kidnapping continues to cast a dark shadow over parts of Nigeria. And this latest case from Ogun State has once again raised troubling questions. Two residents who disappeared after a violent abduction have now regained their freedom, but only after their families reportedly paid a ransom. While relatives are grateful to have their loved ones back alive, the circumstances surrounding their release have reignited concerns about whether criminal gangs are becoming even more emboldened. The bigger question is this: if families are increasingly forced to negotiate directly with kidnappers to save lives, what does that say about the country's fight against violent crime? And despite new security operations, why do these attacks continue to happen? According to Punch, the incident occurred in Kopapi, within Obafemi Owode local government area of Ogun State. The victims, identified as Kelvin Moyekun and el-rufai, were reportedly abducted by suspected kidnappers while they were preparing to leave their residence. According to reports, about 4 armed men ambushed the victims, creating panic in the community. During the attack, another resident, Al-Haq Shobakin, was shot and seriously injured before being rushed to the hospital for treatment. The abduction immediately triggered fear among residents, with many wondering whether criminal groups were expanding their activities into communities that had previously experienced fewer cases of violent kidnappings. Families of the victims face an agonizing wait, hoping that negotiations would end without further tragedy. After spending about 1 week in captivity, the 2 men were finally released on Thursday. According to a family source, both victims were freed after their families paid a ransom demanded by the kidnappers. Although the relatives expressed enormous relief that the victims returned alive, they deliberately refused to reveal how much money changed hands. They also declined to discuss sensitive details surrounding the negotiations, fearing that publicity could expose them to future attacks or make them targets once again. The source explained that the families wanted to focus entirely on the recovery of the victims. One of the released individuals was immediately taken to hospital for medical treatment after returning home. While reports indicate that both victims survived the ordeal, spending days in captivity often leaves victims with physical exhaustion and psychological trauma that can take months or even years to overcome. Earlier reports had indicated that the kidnappers demanded as much as 50 million naira for the victims' release. Whether the final payment matched that figure has not been confirmed, as the families have chosen to keep those details private. The case also raises broader concerns about the difficult choices families face during kidnapping incidents. In many cases across Nigeria, relatives find themselves under immense emotional pressure. They desperately want security agencies to rescue their loved ones safely, but they also fear that delays could put victims' lives in greater danger. This often creates a painful dilemma where families quietly negotiate with kidnappers while hoping authorities continue rescue efforts. Following the abduction, the Ogun State Police Command announced that operatives had been deployed to rescue the victims and track down those responsible for the crime. Police spokesperson Babasheyi Olusheyi said security personnel were mobilized to secure the victims' freedom and arrest the armed suspects. At this stage, there has been no official confirmation that any of the kidnappers have been arrested. The investigation is expected to continue as police attempt to identify those behind the attack and dismantle any criminal network operating in the area. The timing of the incident has attracted additional attention because it happened only about 1 month after Ogun and Lagos State Police Command jointly launched Operation Kosai. The security initiative was introduced to strengthen cooperation between both states in tackling kidnapping, armed robbery, cult-related violence, and other organized crimes affecting communities along their shared boundaries. Security experts have repeatedly argued that criminal gangs often exploit forests, isolated roads, and state borders to evade security operations. Joint policing efforts such as Operation Kosai were designed to close those gaps by improving intelligence sharing and enabling coordinated responses whenever criminal groups move between neighboring states. However, incidents like the Kopape kidnapping demonstrate that security operations face enormous challenges. Criminal groups frequently change their tactics, relocate their hideouts, and exploit areas with limited security presence. That makes prevention just as important as response, requiring sustained intelligence gathering, community cooperation, and rapid deployment whenever suspicious activities are reported. Residents in affected communities have also continued to call for stronger security patrols, quicker emergency response, and improved surveillance around vulnerable locations. Many believe visible policing can discourage criminal groups from targeting residential areas. Beyond Ogun State, kidnapping remains one of Nigeria's most persistent security challenges. Although some regions have recorded improvements due to military operations and police interventions, abductions for ransom continue to affect families, businesses, and local communities in several parts of the country. Victims range from students and farmers to commuters, professionals, and community leaders. Each successful ransom payment also raises difficult policy questions. Families understandably prioritize saving the lives of their loved ones, but security analysts warn that ransom payments may encourage criminal groups to continue targeting innocent people if they believe large financial rewards remain possible. That debate has become increasingly complex because every kidnapping presents unique circumstances. While governments emphasize law enforcement and criminal prosecution, families caught in these situations are often focused on one immediate objective: bringing their relatives home alive. For the families of Kelvin Moyegun and Kayode Rufai, the immediate nightmare has ended with their safe return. But for investigators, the work is only beginning. Authorities will now face renewed pressure to identify the armed men responsible, prevent future attacks, and reassure residents that communities in Ogun State remain safe. The successful return of the victims will certainly bring relief to their loved ones. Yet the larger challenge remains unresolved. Until those responsible are arrested and kidnapping networks are dismantled, many Nigerians will continue asking whether enough is being done to stop these increasingly organized criminal groups before they strike again. For more updates and in-depth analysis, stay with us on News Express. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and stay tuned as we bring you more updates.